Long ago, there was once a pine tree. There was nothing special about it, it was just an ordinary pine tree. Not far from said large plant, there lived a girl. Every day, this girl would go to the tree with an apple and sit there for hours on end. She would think about life, food, and various other subjects. She was waiting for something to happen. For what, she did not know, but what she did know was that it was going to happen eventually. She died before she could know what would happen. Had she lived 200 years more, maybe she would have witnessed that something. The big something occurred at 12:59 p.m. on a Sunday, right as Elton John accidentally killed a fly by closing a window too hard. Somewhere far away from Elton John and his dead fly, who, tragically, had 3 kids and a wife named Ellen, an email was sent to a computer that was programmed with a seemingly random string of binary numbers called Hank. Hank was the lifeline to 6 major American banks, and that email destroyed Hank. Poor Hank, he thought, he being the cyberspace cowboy called Leonard. Trotting along the trails of hexadecimal and binary, he saw Hank and his connections fizzle out and pitifully die. What he didn't see, however, was the subsequent collapse of the American economy and the humiliation of the capitalist system as a whole. Eventually, the socialists took over, and after they fell came an era of anarchy. This time not just in the US, but around the entire world. However, a select few got the opportunity to leave Earth and live out the rest of their lives on the moon, which, conveniently, had just been colonized a few years prior. The colony had ceased communications with Earth only a year after society collapsed, but these brave spacefarers had hopes of starting new, successful lives on the moon. The great-great-great-great-granddaughter of the girl with the apple was one of those lucky moon colonists. The culture that had formed on the moon was structured, yet barbaric. Position and wealth were determined by a series of brutal war games, of which the great-great-great-great-granddaughter of the girl with the apple was a renowned champion. In her blood-stained armor, she dominated the court, a vicious gladiator. She never lost. One random Tuesday, a mysterious person entered the ring and challenged the great-great-great-great-granddaughter of the girl with the apple to single combat. Before the fight began, the mysterious challenger lifted her hood, revealing that she was the great-great-great-great-granddaughter of the girl with the apple's long-lost lover. It turns out that she had been kidnapped and brainwashed by the evil socialist empire of Mars. The great-great-great-great-granddaughter of the girl with the apple was surprised indeed, but not so surprised that she didn't win the fight without even breaking a sweat. Turning someone evil doesn't just magically make them a very, very muscular assassin. The mysterious X was unconscious within 2 minutes flat, as she was only armed with a mere tennis racket, as she loved the sport. As the duel dramatically unfolded, up in the stands, next to the throne of the Emperor, sat the assistant to said Emperor of the United Galaxy. He was, naturally, the very, very old son of Elton John, and was intent on becoming just like his father, an important political figure in every galaxy and corner of the universe. The assistant, that is. Unfortunately for him, the descendants of the fly that got killed by Elton John were out for blood to avenge their fallen brother. They had been tracking Elton John's very, very old son as soon as they caught wind of Elton's death, and have been chasing him ever since. So, as Elton's son stood next to the throne watching the fight, cackling maniacally to himself for seemingly no reason, the Elderfly, who was about 20 hours old, was preparing his species for a full-on assassination of the son of the monster who killed their ancestor. Meanwhile, the great-great-great-great-granddaughter of the girl with the apple was looking frankly at her ex. Mysterious X was still out cold, and as soon as the 3-minute mark of unconsciousness came around, she suddenly jumped up and whirled her tennis racket around. The great, etc. of the girl with the apple looked on with pity as her mysterious X lost all of her aura and mystery by defying all laws of physics by floating in the air and yelling, "I am the Master Commander," over and over again. Her voice soon became distorted in a disturbing likeness to buzzing. It seemed that sparks were starting to fly all around her body. No, they actually were coming from her. As the mysterious X slowed and lost all coherent thought and sound, the great, etc. of the girl with the apple was then quite properly confused. Her confusion grew as she saw what looked like flies coming out of the no longer mysterious X's ears. At this point, the great, etc. of the girl with the apple was simultaneously confused and thoroughly upset, as any reasonable moon colonizer gladiator would be if their ex had just tried to kill them with a tennis racket and then proceeded to reveal that they weren't, in fact, a human, but an android full of flies. It also turns out that the flies that were impersonating the X were the very flies that were looking for Elton John and his family, even though the feud was then quite old and rather pointless, seeing as both original parties were then deceased. Alas, what is the point of questioning the mind of a fly? The angry flies had located the primary target then, as he was overseeing the Emperor and his gladiator battles, just as scheduled. The flies quickly overcame the very fabulous, very, very old sun, as he yelled something about being too flamboyant to die in vain. Ironically, the time of his death was 12:59 p.m. The entire time that this rather historic revenge was occurring, the great etc. of the girl with the apple realized that resistance to the cold, hard truth of the universe was ultimately futile. So, she retired early and became a bookshop owner who occasionally participated in recreational gladiator fights.